history. Mysterious aliens and a mysterious and familiar traveller in time, our friend the Doctor. Do we have any Doctor Who fans with us here today?
Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, I've just finished 6 weeks in Panto and Port Call. That was pathetic. Do we have any Doctor Who fans with us here today?
Yay!
My boss. Are you a Doctor Who fan?
No.
No, I know, but your daughter is. Okay, good. That's my boss from my estate agents that I work in on a Saturday. Just so I'm embarrassing. This is good. Excellent. Okay. Well, I am Jolien Dixon is my stage name, and that's what they put on all of the material. But just call me John. Jolien's a stupid name, and I have no idea why I chose it. Right, ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do, after 3, I want you to shout out the name of the actor of your favourite Doctor. Do you think we can do that for me?
Yep.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
John Pertwee.
Oh, that's some, that's some very good ones. And that's a good one from my... Big Ben? Oh no, Steve! That's not the correct answer. Well, that's
Stephen's Tower.
Yes, Elizabeth's Tower, as these knowledgeable people know. Okay, it was formerly known as Stephen's Tower, named after my boss Steve. Okay, and actually, at the top of that tower is a chamber. Within that chamber is a bell. The bell is known as Big Ben. The bell, not the tower. Okay, but we're not interested in normal history. We're interested in the history of Doctor Who, and it was at the top of that tower where a massive slithering spaceship smashed through the top, destroying Big Ben. In episode 4 of the launch season 2005, it was Christopher Eccleston's 4th outing as the Doctor, Aliens of London and World War III. It was a 2-parter, and that's when we knew that Doctor Who was taking itself seriously. It was the most spectacular special effect I think we'd ever seen. And I personally thought, oh, thank God, they're going to do it properly. No more wobbly sets and green screen. It really was a statement about how Doctor Who was going to continue. I should have learned to speak before I began this war, but never mind. Visual effects designer Mike Tucker built a scale model of the top of Elizabeth's Tower, about this high. One of the clock faces was solid, the other clock face was made of plaster. He then built a scale model of the slithering spaceship wing. He raised the slithering spaceship wing up, let it go, and smashed it through the plaster, creating the effect. And I think it does. It just said, hey, Doctor Who's back, and we're going to do it properly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. Don't worry, Steve, you don't have to answer. How many female Prime Ministers of Great Britain have there been? Katie, how many female Prime Ministers of Great Britain have there been? 1! 1 is usually the answer, but not in our world. In our world, there have been 3 female Prime Ministers of Great Britain. The first one, yes, Margaret Thatcher. She was the inspiration for the Helen A character in the Sylvester McCoy story, The Hammer Patrol, okay? Everyone loves it. Not everyone, but there we are, okay. Now, the second female Prime Minister of Great Britain in the Doctor Who world comes at the end of the brilliant Robert Bax-Stewart story. Poor old Robert Bax-Stewart just recently passed away. Terror of the Zygons in 1975. You'll know the Zygons, modern fan, because the Zygons have turned up recently, haven't they? So, marvellous. Yes, Terror of the Zygons, at the end of Terror of the Zygons, the wonderful Nicholas Courtney playing Brigadier Gordon Alastair Lethbridge Stewart. I might have got those the wrong way around, but never mind. He picked up the phone to explain the weird... That looks like a fun tool. He picked up the phone to explain the weird goings-on that have been happening during Terror of the Zygons. Within that phone call, as he was speaking to the Prime Minister, he said the words, "Yes, madam, of course, madam, madam," proving that a full 4 years before the evil woman ascended to the throne, that we had a female Prime Minister before Margaret Thatcher. Santa Claus, that's Santa, Father Christmas, Santa, in Doctor Who, Santa, that worked. No, it didn't. He flew around that in the Christmas episode that you will tell me the title of.
Oh God, Last Christmas.
That's it, there we are, good. I knew that. I was just testing. Okay, yeah, good for you. Well, we're just going to move on. The Doctor and Rose in the opening episode. Rose. They were standing over there, desperately searching and trying to work out something important, which I'm going to tell you about later. Anyway, the Doctor looked up on that side of the river, saw something important, I wonder what it might be, and decided that he needed to get to the other side. So he started to run across the bridge. As he ran across the bridge, his hand came out. Rose's hand came out. They grabbed each other's hand and their fingers intertwined, and that's when I knew. That's when I been stuck on the back of a porridge packet. Okay. Here it is. This is the most iconic image, as far as I'm concerned, in Doctor Who history. and very early on the morning of the 23rd of August 1964. How do I know it's the 23rd of August 1964? I have written it on the back of my piece of card that I have cut from a porridge packet. I do know it though, I can't look without it. 23rd of August 1964, director Richard Martin assembled a whole platoon of Daleks along this bridge to herald that the Dalek invasion of Earth had begun. The Dalek invasion of Earth was an unprecedented 5-day location shoot, save for one shot of a double of William Hartnell walking through a field in the Reign of Terror. They hadn't. I love the fact you keep nodding. I'm terrified. I'm like, good, I got it right. Thank God. Yes. Save for that shot. Yeah, they hadn't done any location filming. So, who can forget the image of rebel leader Dortmund wheeling his wheelchair across the bridge, and of course Barbara with him to try and escape deserted London. Now it was 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, so it was deserted. If you come here at 5 o'clock next Sunday morning, A, I won't be here, and B, there will be traffic all over the place because the traffic doesn't stop. I contend that it probably would have been impossible to shoot that now. Also, now here, this is a test, because I have looked through the whole of the Dalek invasion of Earth. This image does not appear in the story. You do see the tops of the Dalek heads from down there, but you do not see this image. This image was repeated, however, in 1993 to celebrate more than 30 years of the TARDIS
for a Radio
on the
Times
BBC.
show.
Within one of those Daleks was Doctor Who writer and star sometimes, Mark Gatiss, or Gatiss. I call him Gatiss.
It is Gatiss.
I think it's Gatiss. I'll call him Mark. I would if I could meet him. Please, I hope he's going to take over. They then repeated it in 2005 to launch Dalek, episode 5 of the launch serial. And then, of course, they repeated it when Mark Gatiss himself directed an adventure in space and time. Or time and space. They keep mixing them up. The Doctor Who magazine does anyway. I'm not buying it anymore. There we are. It's called... It's thank you, it's in alphabetical order. Space and time. Very good, thank you very much. So that image has been repeated many times. We're going to go down this way, and we are going to go down these stairs. So 8 people are going to have to help this baby go down there. They won't to lifts and everything. They didn't have to deal with stairs. The first time they had to deal with stairs was in the Dalek invasion of Earth. Where a rather depressed Dalek trundled along here, ended up at the bottom of the stairs, its eye stalk went up, and it sort of figuratively shrugged its shoulders and went, bugger that. So that is the first time we knew that Daleks could go up the stairs. And then they did go up the stairs in Remembrance of the Daleks by Sylvester McCoy. Right, anyway, now, as a modern television audience, we're all used to characters coming and going and things changing. A television program has to develop, has to evolve to stay popular. Otherwise, it's not going to be on the air. I mean, we've been back for 11 years. We were around 26 years beforehand. However, on the 26th of June 1965, it was a bit of a shock to lose a character. In fact, it was a hell of a shock to lose 2 characters. All right, we'd lost Susan Foreman at the end of the Dalek invasion of Earth, but at the end of the chase, we were going to lose Ian and Barbara. Ian Chesterton and Barbara Wright were the 2 original Doctor Who assistants. I mean, Susan was always there. So the 2 people that came from Earth, they were telling the story. They were the catalysts for more than 50 years of adventure. They followed the unearthly child, Susan Foreman, back to a strange junkyard. Within that strange junkyard was a blue box. Within that blue box was a white-haired man, the Doctor. They stumbled in, and then they went off to many different worlds, to the Dalek planet Skaro. They went all the way back to Roman times. But after many years of adventures, they decided it was time to leave. Actors William Russell and Jacqueline Hill. There we are. There's so many facts. You've just got to reach, haven't you? You've got to reach. So I said William Russell, or I was thinking of the signed photo he sent me. I wrote to him in the 50th year, and he sent me a signed photo. It's marvellous. Anyway, so they decided that it was time to go. William Hartnell was devastated, not least because William Russell kind of helped him through some episodes. As you may notice, he was suffering from an illness, and he had trouble remembering his lines. Anyway, but they decided it was time to go. So the final moments of Ian and Barbara were played out here. It was at the end of the chase. They persuaded the Doctor to allow them to use the Dalek time machine one more time to transport them back to 60s London. And then the Dalek time machine, as you'd expect, it was opened on New Year's Eve 1999 by the then Prime Minister, Mr. Tony Blair. Oh, what a marvellous man. Or not, as the case may be. Now, the Millennium Wheel, the London Eye, has a much more significant role to play in the world of Doctor Who, because as I discussed earlier, the Doctor and Rose, hello, that's a stone, the Doctor and Rose were on the other side of the river. They were racking their brains to work out what could be big enough to be used by the Nestine consciousness as an antennae to send out the signal to awaken all of the Autons in the launch episode Rose on March the 26th in 2005. And the Doctor looked up and there it was, the Millennium Wheel, that's it, and that's when they ran. Okay. And I want you to imagine the future. I want you to concentrate really hard and try and imagine, I don't know, a year like 2460, so far in advance, hundreds and hundreds of years away. What would it look like? How incredible would it like? It would be beautiful, gleaming metals. It would be shining. It would be marvelous. Excellent. You can open your eyes because we stepped through a tear in the fabric of time, and we are now actually looking at the year 2460. And that's it. That's what it looks like. That's the year 2460, or it certainly was for the Doctor Who production team in 1972, who were going to make the 1973 classic Frontier in Space, written by Malcolm Hulke. This area here, way back in 1972, John Pertwee and Katie Manning were filming the Frontier in Space, as we've just discussed. Ogrons literally went up and down these stairs. I have looked. It's these stairs. If it's not, it might be other, but they look like these stairs. They weren't yellow. Okay. Anyway, Ogrons were huge, sort of ape-like aliens, very tall. So they hired very tall actors, very scary-looking, horrific aliens, as you know and you don't. Anyway, I'll lend all the DVDs to you. Love it. I don't think he will. Anyway, Katie Manning, who played Jo Grant, tells a story about how back in 1972 they were filming here very early in the morning, as was the case in those days. You could film very early in the morning. They were here at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and she was surrounded by her favourite monsters, the Ogrons. These 6-foot guys in huge alien masks, sort of armour, terrifying things. Around here were laying some unfortunate chaps, some poor chaps and poor homeless people. Some cruel people would call them winos, because they were hammered and they were asleep. And Katie Manning remembers that one of the Ogron chaps thought it would be a terribly fun wheeze to lean over and tap this chap on the shoulder and say good morning. So you can imagine the night before you've had about 19 cans of special brew. You've gone to sleep here, cold, homeless, slightly upset. Then you wake up to the sight of an Ogron tapping you on the shoulder. This fella jumped up and went, that's it, I promise, I'll never touch another drop again, as he belted down there as fast as his lips. He's got a microphone, I think that's terribly unfair. He's probably talking about the National Theatre. I will in a minute, but I'll link it to Doctor Who. He's probably talking about proper National Theatre things. Anyway, I point you down towards the BFI, the British Film Institute. Lovely cafe in there for the BFI as well. Now the BFI has a long history and association with Doctor Who, not least in 2013, our anniversary year, they staged a screening of a Doctor Who episode from every Doctor, all the way through with a panel of writers, with a panel of directors, and they celebrated it. However, the BFI is also the venue for, quite literally, and if you are filming this, I'll say it right down the lens, the worst television programme in history.
Oh,
Okay?
yes. Oh, yes.
I don't care what anybody says. We had all. We'd all. I went all the way to Aldbourne to watch the 2013 50th anniversary special. I rented the cottage. I had pizza, I had wine. It was marvellous. Watched the anniversary special. Thought, oh, amazing. Tom Baker was in it. Do you know, I really think you might. Yes, you will, my friend. Oh my God, I nearly died. Then they said, ladies and gentlemen, turn over to BBC 3, where you can celebrate Doctor Who, the after party. Doctor Who, the after party was a programme where, in the reception of the BFI just down there, they collected literally 40 or 50 Doctor Who actors. There was assistants, there were former doctors, there were directors, there were writers, lots of Doctor Who luminaries in one room. They chose to speak to Matthew Waterhouse, who played Adric and incidentally was shit.
He wasn't that good.
Of all of the people they could speak to, they spoke to Matthew Waterhouse. They had Jean Marsh was there. Fraser Hines, who played Jamie, to Patrick Troughton, was the second Doctor. He turned to Peter Purvis, who played Stephen, to William Hartnell's first Doctor, and he said, I have never been an extra, and I'm not fucking starting now. They were livid because they weren't used. However, my favourite bit of Doctor Who Live, the after party, is where Zoe Paul gamely threw over to America, where One Direction, the biggest boy band in history, were there.
Not remotely
We'd all
Doctor Who
watched
fans.
the anniversary special. It was amazing. Then they threw to America, and they had terrible trouble getting through to One Direction. They couldn't hear them. They couldn't hear them in the studio, but eventually they broke through and they spoke to One Direction and they said, "So, boys, it's the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. Did you enjoy the 50th anniversary special?" And over thousands of miles, probably costing millions of pounds, with satellite television and everything, they said, "We haven't seen it."
Just come off stage.
Marvellous. Now, the BFI used to have a different life. The BFI used to be MOMI, the Museum of the Moving Image.
Yeah, I remember it.
When I was like 11, 12, 13, it was brilliant. It was a celebration of British film, television and culture. And between the years 1991 and 1995, it housed a permanent Doctor Who exhibition. And within that exhibition was lots of costumes, lots of alien outfits, and one of the aliens within that was the Krag. I'm going to ask a stupid question. Can anybody tell me where this is? I asked this and people don't know.
It's Tom Baker.
Where the Krag was. Which show did the Krag
Sharda.
Which story?
Or to more precise,
It's Sharda.
Sharda.
It was the 1980 story Sharda that was filmed in 1979 during lots of industrial action. So unfortunately, all they managed to film of the Sharda story was the location filming. Therefore, we never saw the Krag, the monster, so essentially made of silver paper. Anyway, it was fitting that when Tom Baker filmed his linking narration for the BBC video, remember that video was like this big of Sharda? I think it had a little script inside as well. He filmed it in front of the Krag. It's the only time you would get to see the Krag. If we turn our eyes that way, we are now looking at the National Theatre, the Royal National Theatre that was built in 1976, designed by Dennis Kasdan and Peter Softly, to house the National Theatre after it moved from its original home, the Old Vic, which is just over there. Now, what has the Royal National Theatre got to do with Doctor Who? I shall tell you, it is a breeding ground for lots of modern doctors. David Tennant appeared in here in a production called The Pillow Man, not a year and a half before he was cast as the Doctor. Matt Smith appeared in here in the second cast of The History Boys. In fact, his picture was just outside my dressing room, but I'll get onto that within here, okay? James Corden appeared here. Now, James Corden we know as Craig Owens from The Lodger and from Closing Time. He appeared here in The History Boys before he was Craig, and then after he was Craig, and during when he was Craig, he appeared here in One Man, Two Governors. One Man, Two Governors was the smash hit show. I understudied James Corden during that show. In there, little did I know, and it would be the only time I ever got in the bloody building, but also little did I know that I was working alongside lots of actors that have Doctor Who connections. I worked alongside Trevor Laird. Trevor Laird was in the cast of One Man, Two Governors. He played Martha Jones' dad in modern Doctor Who. He was also a guard in Mind Warp, the Colin Baker story. It's the only time I mention Colin. I love Colin Baker. He's a lovely, lovely man, but it's the only time I mention Colin. I also worked alongside a guy called Daniel Rigby. Daniel Rigby, the only link to Doctor Who he has, he ended up like 15-1 to replace Matt Smith as the Doctor. I don't know where his name came from, but I was like, Daniel, go on then, I'll have 50 quid on you. That worked. Thanks, Daniel. And another actress in there who was in One Man, Two Governors is Jemima Rooper. And Jemima Rooper, you will find this out only on this tour, was down to the last two for both the part of Rose and the part of Amy Pond. But didn't get either. Can you imagine? I'd be a bit narked, I can tell you. But she was loved by the casting director, called Andy Pryor, because she then was cast as Medusa in Atlantis. And if you want, so you can see her. Have a look, see what she looks. She's a cracking actress, she's brilliant. Anyway, and I appeared in here, and whilst I was in here, I had the joy of meeting Katie Manning, who played Jo Grant. My friend introduced me on the balcony around the corner, and she was absolutely lovely. I also met Christian X just through those doors, and I thought he might be a bit prickly, because that's what you're told. But no, I went up to her and I said, I just want to say, sorry to bother you, but I love Doctor Who, and thank you for helping it come back. And a big broad smile came on his face and said, it's my pleasure.
The Master.
The Master, maybe. Buck Rogers. Good point.
Michael Grade.
Michael Gray, Jonathan Powell.
Celebrity
in 2005,
wrestling.
You're on the right track. In 2005, the Doctor's greatest enemy was ITV, and this is the London Television Centre, ITV. I've never been inside it. Oh no, I have been. To see David Letterman when he's in London, but I've never performed in there. One day, you never know. However, on March 26, 2005, Russell T Davies was a little bit worried because we were going to launch at 7 o'clock. I bought champagne and everything. I was terribly excited. And he wondered who was going to be against us. Well, ITV were a bit rattled themselves. They thought this could be big, this could take all of the viewers away from us. So they wheeled out Ant and Dec. When there are Americans on this tour, I have to try and explain Ant and Dec. It's really quite difficult. Anyway, they wheeled out Ant and Dec. Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway. Ratings behemoth. We were all worried. We thought Doctor Who was doomed. However, Russell T Davies woke up the next morning, bleary-eyed, and he checked the overnight ratings. You can do, there's a website, I do it. And he discovered that Doctor Who got 10.6 million viewers, Ant and Dec got 8.4 million viewers. And on the front page of The Sun, no word of a lie, on the Monday, it said Doctor Who exterminates Ant and Dec. I have that somewhere in my little scrapbook. Now, ITV were very concerned, so they brought forward their next brilliant light entertainment format that was guaranteed to wipe Doctor Who off the schedules. Celebrity wrestling. No word of a lie. For 1 week, previous to the show, a group of celebrities, I can't even call them B-list. I mean, we're talking the likes of James Hewitt, who had had an affair with Princess Diana, Annabelle Giles, Shade Goody's ex-boyfriend. They were a guy called Mark Bannerman. I mean, I'm more famous than Mark Bannerman, and I just do this. Anyway, they would train all week and then they would wrestle live on ITV on a Saturday night. The bad news for ITV was that Doctor Who absolutely destroyed celebrity wrestling, so much so that celebrity wrestling was moved from Saturday night to a Sunday morning slot. That's how well it had done. ITV gave up and they just started showing Ice Age, Harry Potter, whatever. So we've got ITV to thank for the success. Hello, it's Yoda. Hello, Yoda. It's cantilevered. Anyway, we are standing next to what I think is the second most iconic image in Doctor Who history. It is this one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Once again, on the back of a porridge packet. This was to herald the invasion, the 1968 story. Douglas Camfield directed, Patrick Troughton. It had a 10-day location shoot. Remember that the Dalek invasion of Earth had a 5-day location shoot. The invasion had a 10-day location shoot. Cybermen going everywhere. Air bases. They've got them trudging outside a pub around the corner. I'm trying to work out what pub it is because I'd like to go in it. Probably doesn't exist anymore. It's probably a Starbucks. But this image was taken just over there. You see where those stairs are? Underneath this bridge. This bridge is the Millennium Bridge. So named because it was built for the Millennium. It's famous for 3 reasons. Number 1, when they built it in 1999, it wobbled until they fixed it, and therefore making there no reason to go over the bridge at all anymore. Number 2, it's famous for the opening of the UK version of The Apprentice, where the contestants, or as I like to call them, wankers, go over the bridge. And of course, number 3, God, the American version of The Apprentice is Donald Trump. He's going to destroy the world. So you can put that on there. Hello, Donald. My name is Sylvester McCoy. Right on now. So those stairs there is where this image happened, but it is also the site of one of the most jaw-dropping cliffhangers in Doctor Who history. At the end of the 2014 season of Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi's debut, at the end of the episode Dark Water, Cybermen were on those stairs, and this mysterious woman was on those stairs. She was called Missy, and at the end of Dark Water, Missy turned to the Doctor and said, "You can't very well call me the Master anymore, can you?" Revealing that Missy, a woman, was in fact the Master, a man. Can you see where I'm going with this? I'm upset. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Rachel Talalay, the director, had to direct another sequence to throw keen-eyed fans off the scent, because the fans of Doctor Who, if they find out that it's being filmed, I don't know how they find out, because I would be there watching it happen. But they go around there, they watch it happen, and so they filmed a sequence where she mouthed the words that she was the Rani, or something that said R-A-N-I. Anyway, so we thought it was, I'd have settled for that, I'd have settled for her being the Rani, but no, she's the master. One of the most jaw-dropping cliffhangers in history. I'm going to ask everybody. It's a straw poll. Nobody knows my opinion. Who thinks that the master being a woman is a good idea? No, you can. It's good. It's good. That's good. That's sort of half and half. Who thinks that the Doctor being a woman would be a good idea? You can all follow me and carry on with the walk. The late actor Sam Wanamaker and recreates the globe that stood probably not on this site, a little bit further away. Okay, so Sam Wanamaker himself has a good link to Doctor Who. Sam Wanamaker's daughter, Zoe Wanamaker, played Cassandra, the piece of hideous stretched skin that appeared in End of the World, the Christmas episode, and of course New Earth, which was the appalling episode that Lord David Tennant first, I didn't like it, anyway, first season. Also, just after Arthur Darvill finished playing Rory, he played Dr. Faustus in here a couple of years ago. But we mostly know, don't worry darling, I know it's awful, isn't it, this walk? Bless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, let him go. I'm going to cry in a minute, so it makes no odds. I don't care. You're welcome, my friend. Now, we know it, of course, for the 2007 Gareth Roberts, what I call classic now, the Shakespeare Code. The Shakespeare Code was the first time that Martha, played by the wonderful, incredibly underrated, and as I think, really badly treated, Freema Agyeman, because I'm absolutely certain she didn't know she was only doing one season. I don't know that for a fact, but I've got a feeling that she thought she was there forever. But no, here we are, Catherine Tate. Anyway, so look at them. I think they're having a Doctor Who walk. I don't think so. So it was the 2007 Gareth Roberts classic, The Shakespeare Code, and it was the first time that Martha had gone back in time. The Doctor took them back to Elizabethan times, where they met the man himself, Shakespeare, played wonderfully by Dean Lennox Kelly. Now, little did they know that an evil force of witch-like creatures known as the Carrionites planned to hijack the premiere of Shakespeare's new play to wreak havoc amongst the world. The Carrionites used the magic of words as their power, and they planned to use the words to free them from their internal imprisonment. Luckily, the Doctor and Martha worked out what was going on, and they changed the words at the end of the play from Love's Labours Won to Love's Labours Lost. I have to pause there in case I get it the wrong way round, and the entire story is crap. Now, interestingly enough, they had to bring in tons of specially treated fireproof Welsh straw into the globe for the shooting of the Shakespeare Code, because I don't think even the Doctor Who production team would be forgiven for burning down one of... So I have to say, if anyone watches Toast of London, you should see the end of Toast of London Season 3, because he does burn the globe down, that's why it makes it. Anyway, so yes, I don't think they'd have been forgiven for burning it down, and I believe it was one of the first times that a television programme had been allowed to film inside the globe. They had filmed Shakespeare and loved the film, but one of the first times. Now, what we're going to do, just by standing here, literally by moving our heads, we are going to travel 30 years, okay? From 2007 to 1997. Look over there, you're in 2007. Look over here, you're in 1977. Because this little stretch of houses is where Tom Baker travelled in a horse and cart, jumped out and went to a door in the Talons of Weng Chiang. A really small sequence. I only found that out recently because I got the special edition, and they do a now and then on there. Thank you, special edition DVDs. We like you. Yes, so there we are. Tom Baker was standing just there. Marvellous. Love him. In the Talons of Weng Chiang. We'll talk about that in a minute. Look, he's getting his camera out. It's excited now. See? Yeah. See? It's only because of Now and Then on the DVD. That's the only reason. So there we are, yeah. But it's interesting that it was filmed in 2007 here with Tennant, and in 1970s, they'll probably filmed it in 76. But and back to Victorian England for what is, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest Doctor Who story ever. Apart from the rats, we have to say that. Apart from the rats, there it is. The Talons of Weng Chiang, the Robin Holmes classic, and the sequence where the Doctor and Leela are attacked by Wen Chiang's assistants. They call them something else. I'm not calling them that now. It's 2016. It's not allowed. Anyway, they're attacked, and they are attacked just here. Can I just say to anybody who hasn't seen The Talons of Wen Chiang, get it out, check it out. Is it on, can you get it on Netflix now?
It's probably going to be a horror.
It's on the horror channel. Tape it. It's marvellous. So basically they were looking for something that looked Victorian. If you look along there, it's absolutely marvellous. They filmed most of it over in Wapping on the other side because before Wapping became an incredibly trendy place to live, it looked just like this, but older and scrappier. So it looked like Victorian London. So they filmed it over in Wapping a lot of the time. But the sequence, as I told you over there, was filmed over here. And the sequence here when they were attacked was filmed here. They also filmed in a theatre in starts with an N, miles away, not in London. Anyway, that's it. This bit's rubbish. Don't put that on. Right. Anyway, it's not. But I'm telling you, it's Talons of Wen Chiang. Tom Baker stood here. Louise Jameson stood here. Oh my God, how attractive did you look at all that Victoria get up? Right here's where we're. Tell me, which Doctor Who episode Southwark Cathedral featured heavily within?
Lazarus Experiment.
Anyone?
Lazarus
The Lazarus Experiment. This is David Tennant. He's been around this issue. David Tennant. Bless him. Yes, the Lazarus Experiment. The Lazarus Experiment featured Mark Gatiss, one of our favourite Doctor Who actors, one of our favourite Doctor Who writers. And in the Lazarus Experiment, Mark Gatiss was an old man to start with, but he discovered the secret of eternal youth, and some machine turned him into a very young-looking Mark Gatiss. Well, Mark Gatiss as he is today. Unfortunately, as with Doctor Who, it all went terribly wrong, and he spent the entire episode changing from Mark Gatiss into a weird scorpion-like creature, until eventually the Doctor lured the weird scorpion-like creature up to the top of the bell tower at Southwark Cathedral, along with Martha and her sister Tish. Now, the Doctor tried and reasoned with Lazarus to stop this experiment. He said he'd help him. Unfortunately, Lazarus refused, so therefore the Doctor manipulated the Church's huge organ. Yes, he did. In order to what can I tell you? In order to interfere with Lazarus's manipulated DNA, that caused him to fall and crash to the floor, turn back to the Mark Gatiss that we know and love. Obviously, he was dead. We don't want Mark Gatiss to be dead. We want him to live. I want him to be showrunner. Come on, what are you doing, Chibnall? I mean, really, Broadchurch, number 1, great. Number 2, dreadful. Don't put this on the internet. Anyway, this is scripted by somebody else. I didn't write it. Interestingly enough, the exterior of Southwark Cathedral was used for the show. The interior was Wells Cathedral, and also the bell tower was actually in the studio. So they never went up to the bell tower, they never went inside Southwark Cathedral. That was filmed in Wells. And then if we turn our eyes to this thing here, where I was pointing at the sky, the Top of Fish restaurant. That was never in Doctor Who. The Shard was completed and designed by architect Renzo Piano. I like to call him Renzo Piano, but I suspect it is pronounced Piano. It is 1,004 feet tall and 87 stories high. However, for our benefit, it was featured in the 2007 half-season opener, because they split the seasons, stopped splitting the seasons. Stephen Moffat's The Bells of St. John. Showrunner Stephen Moffat wanted a Bourne Identity feel to launch the second half of the season. So he wanted lots of skyscrapers, lots of London, and that's what he got in The Bells of St. John. Now what happened was, within the Shard was the HQ of a mysterious Wi-Fi company. Miss Kislet was in charge of the Wi-Fi company, and Miss Kislet, along with the Great Intelligent, were uploading people from their rooms into the internet, capturing them inside the internet. The big mistake that Miss Kislet, played by Celia Imrie, made was she uploaded Clara onto the internet. He wasn't happy, so he jumped on his anti-gravity motorbike, as you do, and he buzzed down Westminster Bridge, all the way along the river, all the way along here, and then rode his bike on the outside of the Shard, and then burst through the window of Miss Kislet's office. And then, what Miss Kislet did not know is that it wasn't the Doctor. It was, in fact, a mobile robotic server, one of those spoon heads. And as he turned his head, it turned out that he was a mobile robotic server, and he uploaded Miss Kislet to the internet herself. Clara was freed, and then we were able to go on to lots more adventures. We are nearing the end of our time. Follow me, I'm going to point out one thing on Colin Firth. had a fight outside a restaurant. It was here to the tune of Jerry Halliwell's It's Raining Men. Oh, you can't get any better than that. You can. But anyway, we have very nearly come to the end of our adventure. You've all been terribly brave, I have to tell you. But you are about to enter the London Tube System. And when you enter the London Tube System, I want you to look out for a small man with dark hair and checky trousers, a small Scotsman in a kilt, and a lady in a Victorian outfit. Because, of course, the tube was the setting for what was the lost classic, The Web of Fear. But, of course, hurrah, we have found The Web of Fear. Well, most of it, and I don't mind the reconstruction, The Web of Fear was discovered. What you may not know, but some people probably do, that the BBC wrote to London Underground in the 60s when they wanted to film in the London Underground for The Web of Fear. Said, please, 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 can we, in the middle of the night, turn up, we won't affect anybody, film the sequences of the Yeti, the Doctor and Jamie in the London Underground on the station platform. And I said, no, there's no way you're coming in here, that's ridiculous, go away. And I thought, all right, fine. So, when it was screened, London Underground were appalled. London Underground were horrified to discover that the BBC production team had literally been in the tube station in the middle of the night and filmed. So they wrote to the BBC and said, how dare you break and enter into the London Underground to film your Doctor Who show? And they went, well, we didn't. We just built the sets. The sets were so good that London Underground actually believed that they'd been in there and filmed. And that is a tribute to the set builders of The Web of Fear. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed this walk. If you have enjoyed this walk, I am Jolien Dixon, otherwise known as John Dixon. If you have not enjoyed this walk, I'm Shane Ritchie. I hope you have a lovely time. I hope you had a lovely time. Yep. Do have a safe journey home. Thank you very much. If you did enjoy it, tell people at London Walks, and then we might do it a little bit more. And if anybody's got any questions or anything to say, any comments, I'll happily take them on board, because anything that makes this walk better for everybody, I'm happy with. In fact, the last time these two people came on, they gave me the lovely information about the talents of Weng Chiang just outside Gourmet Burger Kitchen where we were. So thank you very much for that. So thank you very much, and good night, everybody.